Hey there, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. So, were reports of the death of the ACP greatly exaggerated? Perhaps. Be right back. Hey there, thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So yesterday I was reporting that it looked like it was the beginning of the end for the Affordable Connectivity Program because the FCC had come out and said, hey, we need to start winding this thing down because there's only enough funds to take us through April. In May, the funds are going to run out, and they were making a point that we needed to start winding this down, that internet service providers needed to start getting in place programs to communicate with their subscribers to make sure that they understood that it was coming to an end and what they were going to be doing, those kinds of things. Well, as part of that, Jessica Rosenworcel, chairwoman of the FCC, sent out letters to a bunch of Congress people in leadership positions saying, hey, this is ending. You need to act now if you want this thing to keep going. And now there's been a bipartisan bill that's been introduced in Congress, in both the Senate and the House, I believe, that is going to look at extending that by an additional $7 billion. Now it hasn't passed, but it has been introduced, so it's certainly, there is some life possibly in the ACP. We'll have to see what happens here. So I thought I'd take a quick look at this. You see here, U.S. lawmakers proposed $7 billion in funding to extend FCC Internet Discount Program. This is on CNN, and I linked to this story if you want to check it out. And you can just Google it, and you'll see other stories and some industry trade sites. U.S. lawmakers are mobilizing to prevent abrupt price hikes on millions of Americans' internet bills, announcing new legislation to rescue a popular government program that's set to run out of funding this spring. The previously unreported bipartisan legislation expected Wednesday in both the House and the Senate would allocate $7 billion in additional funding for the Affordable Connectivity Program, or $1 billion more than the White House proposed to Congress last year. So last year, the Congress did propose $6 billion to try to keep it running through the end of this year. $7 billion. We're looking at $23 billion that are people or households, I should say, that are signed up right now, getting a minimum of $30 per month. Those on tribal lands are getting $75 a month. So with that many people signed up, we'd be looking at maybe 9 to 10 months extension of this program. So it would take us through the end of the year. I was saying yesterday, I thought because this was an election year, this wasn't going to happen because Republicans are, they're in charge of the House and they would be kind of in control of this, and they might possibly just let this expire because trying to do something that a lot of voters might like prior to the end of the year with Biden in charge might be something they might not do. But something I didn't mention was the fact that there's lots of support on both sides of the aisle, because when people get free stuff, they like it, and they don't like it to be taken away from them. And the normal kinds of organizations that would be lobbying for or against this are all kind of lobbying for it. You've got your internet service providers, they're all for it because they get a subsidy. They get access to customers that might not be able to afford their service, or that might buy a lower cost product. That's a lot of times what happens is somebody might be buying a lower cost product, but with this $30 subsidy, they can bump up the speeds that they're getting. They might be able to buy a gig service where they might not be able to buy a big gig service or wouldn't want to spend that much without getting the subsidy. So ISPs like it, labor unions like it, lots of people like it. So lots of people lobbying for this, and that may be why something quickly happened here as we had some lobbying efforts. Now, we'll see here, it still might not pass. There's still, it's still got to take a couple of steps here. So you see the ACP works through the internet service providers to register and serve households whose income does not exceed 200% of federal poverty guidelines. Households also qualify if any member of the home participates in another federal aid program such as Medicaid, SNAP, or school lunch programs, certain tribal assistance programs, or receives veterans pensions or VA survivors pension benefits. And as I was mentioning yesterday, it's not a very high bar. Lots of people qualify for this, and I couldn't remember the number, but it's actually 40%, or 4 out of 10 households in the United States qualify for this. I found it again here on the White House site. Experts estimate that 48 million households, or nearly 40% of households in the country, qualify for the ACP, either because their income is at or below 200% of the federal poverty level, or because a member of the household meets one of the other criteria below, which is what I was just reading off, some of the stuff that I was reading off of that. But you see federal Pell Grants, Lifeline, those kinds of things all would allow somebody to qualify. So 4 out of 10 households, 200% of the federal poverty level is about $60,000 if you're a family of 4. It's about $30,000 if you're a single person, and in between, if you've got 2 or 3 people, there's differing amounts in there. So again, lots of households in the U.S. qualify for this, and we've got currently 23 million households that are signed up. So it's been very successful. So there's a lot of people out there that like it. As you see here, 23 million households, according to the FCC, signed up. And then here you see, despite broad support for the program, however, any bill to extend the ACP faces an uncertain future, particularly in the House, said Blair Levin, a telecom industry analyst at New Street Research. The House Republicans are attempting to demonstrate that they are cutting back on government spending, so it makes refunding the ACP very difficult. Levin wrote in a research note Monday, it's unlikely the House Republican leadership will allow the bill to go to the floor. So that's kind of the first hurdle, is getting the bill on the floor. And it says here, Levin added, if the bill did receive a House vote, it would likely pass due to the GOP's slim majority. So it's got to get out of the committee and get to a vote on the floor. And that's the part that's in question. It depends on whether the House leadership, and specifically, I think, the Speaker of the House, will actually take the step of putting this out on the floor. So that remains to be seen. Thursday's bill is led by Vermont Democratic Senator Peter Welch and Ohio Republican Senator J.D. Vance in the Senate. In the House, the bill is co-sponsored by New York Democratic Rep. Yvette Clarke, Pennsylvania Republican Rep. Brian Fitzpatrick, and New York Republican Rep. Mike Lawler. It's also backed by Nevada Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen and North Dakota Republican Senator Kevin Cramer. More than 450 organizations are endorsing the bill, according to a Welch spokesman, including some of the country's largest telecom industry groups, the AARP, labor organizations such as AFL-CIO, the ACLU, and the NAACP. So as you can see, this has wide support among people that quite often are not supporting the same thing. So that does give this some impetus, and it's definitely a bipartisan bill when you see some of the people that have signed on to this. The only question, again, is whether or not this will make it out of the House committee and get a vote on the floor. Because if it does get a vote on the floor, then there's a good chance it could be passed. So this happened pretty quickly, once the FCC came out and notified everyone that, hey, the ACP is going to come to an end unless you act quickly. And as I was talking about yesterday, I really didn't think it had a chance. And I've heard from some insiders, from some folks in Washington that had said, hey, this thing doesn't have a chance. But when you've got votes involved and you've got a popular program, and what is really now kind of considered an entitlement, it's hard to take an entitlement away because politicians don't like to make their voters mad. So this may be something that just continues on. So we'll have to see what happens. Could be that vote comes up and this is passed. So I will certainly keep you posted. Thanks for joining me today. Appreciate it. If this was interesting or helpful, if you give me a like on the video, I'd like that. And if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button and ring the bell and you'll be notified when I'm live. Thanks a lot and take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.